really need someone to tell me I'm jumping to the wrong conclusion here. Please, tell me I'm being dramatic. My little girl, Emma, is 7. She's had a crayon in her hand since before she could say half her colors. Most days it's exactly what you'd expect. Our mutt Rex with his tongue hanging out, butterflies that look like figure eights, our boxy little house, and the 4 of us, well, 3 humans and a dog, lined up with stick arms and goofy smiles. The fridge looks like a museum for magnets and construction paper. Then, about 3 months ago, she started making the same picture. Not similar, the same. It's our house at night. The sky is rubbed dark with a black crayon until the paper burls. The windows glow yellow, little squares of pretend warmth. That part's normal. But there's always one extra window. Our place has 2 stories, 3 windows upstairs, 2 downstairs, and the front door. That's it. In Emma's drawings, there's a 6th window, small, wedged in the blank space between the 1st and 2nd floors. She colors that one red. Always red. I asked her once, trying to keep it light, "Hey kiddo, what's the red window?" She didn't even look up, just said, "That's where the listening happens," and kept shading the sky. Kids say odd things. I let it slide. Only she kept drawing it. Dozens of copies, house, night, yellow rectangles, one red eye staring from between floors. Sometimes she added a crooked tree, or a sprinkle of stars, or our Honda in the driveway, but that red window never moved. Last month she started sleepwalking. At around 3 in the morning, I'd wake to the soft shuffle of feet and find her in the hallway, standing in the turn of the stairs, looking at the blank wall between floors. Eyes open, but not really seeing me. "What are you looking at, sweetheart?" I whispered the first time. "The listening place," she mumbled, voice thick with sleep, and didn't blink. I'd steer her back to bed. By breakfast, she'd have no memory, just Cheerios and chatter. My wife, Marie, said it was a phase. Kids lock onto weird ideas all the time. She reminded me how Emma spent 2 months insisting her stuffed rabbit needed a bowl of cereal like the rest of the family. Probably the same flavor of imagination. Probably. Except Rex started acting off too. He'd plant himself in that same patch of hallway, fur along his spine, standing up like a brush, lip curling at nothing. Sometimes he'd bark at the wall for 10 minutes straight, then whine, then sit and stare. We hauled him to the vet, clean bill of health. "He's getting older," they said. "Maybe a little anxious." Sure, maybe. 2 weeks back I was cleaning the basement, trying to reclaim a few square feet from the boxes. It smelled like dust and old laundry down there, the kind of damp the dehumidifier never quite beats. Behind the furnace I found a small cardboard box I didn't recognize. Taped, brittle, with Henderson scrawled across the top in faded marker. The Hendersons owned this place for 40 years before us, raised their kids here. Neighbors say they were the picture of normal. Cookouts, Little League, the whole thing. Inside were mostly photos, sun-faded prints, curled at the corners. I flipped through them with that nosy curiosity you pretend you don't have. Birthdays, backyard snowmen, a family standing in front of a just-mowed lawn. Then I froze. There was a boy, 8 or 9, holding up a drawing to the camera. It was our house at night. And right there, in the blank space between floors, a small red window. My hands shook a little as I kept digging. Christmas morning, 1987, wrapping paper everywhere, and in the background, their daughter sitting at the kitchen table, drawing. I snapped a quick shot on my phone and zoomed in. Same picture. House, night, red window. I counted them. 17 photos, different years and different kids, same drawing. Over and over, like they were all copying something no one told them to copy. I tracked down the previous owner's daughter on Facebook, Patricia, figuring maybe she'd want the photos. When I described what I'd found, she went quiet, then said, flat as a thumbtack, "Oh, the house drawings." "We all did those," she added, like discussing math homework. "Why the same drawing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She didn't answer that. Instead, "Do you have kids?" "A daughter." "Is she drawing it yet?" The air in my kitchen felt colder. "How did you know?" I waited. The line hummed. Somewhere upstairs the HVAC clicked and sighed through the vents. A floorboard popped like a knuckle. Look, I know how this sounds. Houses groan, kids dream, dogs spook. But if you stood in that hallway at 3 in the morning with the staircase turning and the wall staring back at you like a lid and your child whispering about a place that listens, wouldn't you feel it too? That quiet pressure, as if something on the other side is holding its breath. Tell me I'm wrong, seriously, because once you notice that little red window on a piece of paper, you start seeing it everywhere. And I'm scared of what happens if it ever shows up in the real wall. If this were your home, what would you check first? I'm open to any normal explanation. Please leave one. They all drew it, Patricia said, barely above a whisper. Every kid who grew up in that house. My brothers, me, even our cousins when they came for summers. It wasn't a game. We just kept making the same picture and couldn't stop. Why? I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. I don't know, she said. We just felt like we had to. Like something wanted it recorded, like we were making a note for the next people, so no one could pretend it wasn't there. What was there? Silence, a quick breath on the line, then a click. She hung up. That night, after everyone went to bed, I stood in the hallway where Emma always stops. I pressed my palm to the paint, cool, solid. I swept my hands over the wall, inch by inch, looking for seams, for any hint of a hidden panel. Nothing. Just old plaster over lath, smooth and stubborn. But when I put my ear to it, I heard, not quite breathing, more like a slow pull of air through a narrow straw, faint and patient, like the house itself was taking measured sips. Marie told me I was freaking her out. She asked me, calmly at first, to let it go. She said I was making a normal kid phase into something it wasn't. But I couldn't shake that sound. Or the way Emma slept so peacefully after she touched that spot, like she'd said goodnight to someone. The next morning I measured the wall. Then I drove to City Hall and requested the original plans. The clerk flipped through brittle paper and handed me a copy. When I traced the lines and compared them to our stairwell, my stomach dropped. According to the drawings, there was dead space tucked behind that wall, about 3 feet deep, 2 feet wide. A little pocket between floors, big enough for something that didn't belong. Yesterday, Emma had her friend Sophia over. The girls were at the coffee table with crayons when I heard Sophia ask, "Why do you keep drawing the same thing?" "Because she tells me to," Emma answered matter of fact. "Who tells you?" "The lady in the listening place," Emma said. "She's been there so long she forgot her name. So I draw the pictures to remember for her." I stepped into the doorway. "Emma, what lady?" Both girls looked up. Sophia had that polite, confused look kids get when adults walk into their world. Emma smiled, soft, almost sad, like she felt sorry for me. "She's always been there, Daddy. Since the house was built, she listens to all the families. She makes sure we're good. She likes children because we can hear her better." "Have you seen her?" Emma shook her head. "She can't come out. The red window doesn't open. It never opened. That's why she's sad." I didn't sleep that night. At exactly 3 a.m., Emma's door creaked. She walked past me without noticing I was there, the way sleepwalkers do, and placed her small hand on the wall. Her voice was a hush, but the words were clear. "I know you're lonely," she whispered, "but I'm here. We're all here." The wall answered, not with words, nothing clear enough to write down, but with a pattern you could feel more than hear, a steady pulse that rose and fell, like a message tapped out in breath. Emma nodded, as if she understood every beat. "She says you're scared," Emma murmured, eyes still closed. "Adults always get scared when they find out, but she isn't bad. She's just stuck." "How long?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "How long has she been stuck?" "Since they built the house wrong," Emma said, her hand still on the paint. "They put a wall where her window was. She can't leave." I went downstairs, opened the tool cabinet, and took out my sledgehammer. The steel felt heavier than it should have. When the first swing hit, the sound rolled through the house like a drum. Plaster cracked, then gave way, snowing white dust. Marie ran from the bedroom, voice sharp and afraid. "What are you doing?" "Getting her out," I said, and swung again. Marie called the police. I heard her voice somewhere behind me, low and urgent into the phone, but I kept working. Plaster broke, lath splintered. The old wood sighed like it had been waiting to exhale. Behind it, just where the blueprint suggested, a narrow cavity opened up, tight, vertical, like a closet that forgot its door. It wasn't empty. Set into the far side was a small window, framed deep, filled with red-stained glass the color of late sunset. My flashlight caught the panes and the hallway washed crimson. Behind the glass, in the dim pocket of space, a shape waited, still as a photograph. Sitting, patient. The officers arrived before I could do anything else. They separated Marie and me, asked questions in careful tones. One of them swept his light into the opening. He started to say, "Sir, I need you to step," and then his sentence trailed off. His face changed, just a flicker, like a thought crossed it he didn't want to believe. He saw it too, the shape, still and very, very present, as if it had been part of the house since the first nail. They told us we had to leave while they secured the area. Possible historical hazard, possible code violation, possible who knows what. Marie packed a bag for Emma and took her to her mom's place. I stood in the driveway, hands shaking, dust on my shirt, and watched the cruiser lights paint the front of our home blue and red, like the window was reflecting itself onto the night. Now, I'm sitting at the kitchen table in a quiet house that doesn't feel like mine anymore, typing this while the clock keeps stubborn time. Because I know what Emma is doing this minute, even if I can't see it. She's at her grandmother's, drawing. Same house, same night sky, same yellow windows that glow like warm squares. But now, on her paper, the red window is open, and the shape isn't behind it anymore. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Marie. Emma's in the hallway at Mom's, staring at the wall. She won't stop whispering. She says thank you. She says she's been waiting so long to visit properly. I look at the staircase, at the repaired patch, where the officers covered the opening with a temporary board, at the dust that somehow keeps sifting out from the edges like the house is still adjusting to a new way of breathing. All those drawings weren't warnings. They were invitations, and we finally RSVP'd. If you were me, right now, would you stay somewhere else tonight? Or go stand in that hallway and listen? I'm reading every reply.